Hi, my name's Nadia Dyson and today it's Tuesday Chat Time and I'm here with Alex Grimley, one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the restaurant business in Antigua and Barbuda.
Tuesday Chats with Nadia Dyson.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Nadia. What a wonderful intro.
So Alex, you are constantly delivering exceptional experiences in the dining world in Antigua and we're here today to talk about your newest venture. Can you tell me about what's happening?
So we've got a new amazing marina-side location called Fat Urchin, and downstairs is going to be a pub, upstairs is a bistro. So downstairs is going to be super accessible, and our philosophy is, like, it sounds a bit crass, but to make it as cheap as possible without compromising quality. So the burger will still be a rib steak burger. You know, we'll still buy free-range chicken if it's on the menu and line-caught fresh fish, but we'd drive the price as low as we can so that you can turn up with no reservation, have a great time, there'll be entertainment there, and it should always be busy and buzzy. And then upstairs we've got bistro, so slightly more refined. Think fresh homemade pasta with clams, think lobster garlic butter with homemade fries, fruit de mer, stuff like this. So a little bit of fun up there, a little bit more elegant and slightly higher price point, but still keeping it as keen as possible, because I think, you know, the location in Jolly Harbour is sort of missing something that's super good in the, you know, in the mid-range, but also really doing mid-range prices. I see a lot of like mid-range restaurants in the area, but no one really does mid-range price. Everything feels a little bit punchy. So I think it's time to shake that up a bit.
So tell me about the pub. Is it going to be in the style of an old English pub? Are you going to have beers on tap? What's the creative vision?
So there will be beers on tap. The concept or the philosophy behind the design is going to be kind of cafe, pub, old fish and chip shop meets Rocks Group elegance. So think navy blue tiles, herringbone wood floor, solid teak furniture, you know, whites and blues and stuff like that, so slightly nautical. Downstairs is going to have a really cool big bar. We'll have screens so we can show big sporting events. I mean, I don't want sports on the whole time. You're not going to get like curling on a Tuesday night or anything like that, but big sporting events will be shown there. Good sound system so we can have like entertainment or DJ or whatever. And then, yeah, upstairs bistro, similar design, so it'll flow. The staircase that you go up is going to have really cool mural on the wall of like schools of fish swimming, and we've got a textured mirror roof with a light, so it looks like you're underwater. When you're walking, the light will reflect like that. So,
wow.
So yeah, it's looking good. And then upstairs, there's a 35-foot long open plan kitchen, which you walk past to then get to the terrace, which faces west for sunset. And we've got a retractable pergola roof, so louvers that can open and close or can be pulled back.
So there'll be outside seating as well upstairs?
There's really, most of the seating is outside,
okay,
both downstairs and upstairs, and then the inside downstairs has seating around the bar as well.
Okay. And is your signature, what's going to be your signature kind of dish downstairs? Like fish and chips? Like battered cod fish and chips, or more fancy fish and chips?
Yeah, local fish for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, without being chip shop, we want it to be sort of, you know, cafe style rather than chip shop in terms of the delivery. We're importing English sausages as well, so there'll be a sausage and mash. There's going to be a fish finger sandwich on the menu with like a mushy pea spread on the bread and like homemade bloomers and stuff. And so,
nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And why did you want to do this? What's the inspiration behind that kind of concept there?
We're always, you know, I think the philosophy of Rocks Group is, you know, we're persistently and consistently trying to stay different.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Every concept needs to be, or every opening needs to be something else, because we're on a small island and there's no point in having 2 or 3 of them. I see a need. In Jolly Harbour, I see a large demand for value for money, but I also see people that want to go out and do something special. It's very much a community. You know, having moved to this side of the island, I've seen, you know, there's more people that hang out with friends or get to meet neighbours or meet tourists who are visiting the area. I see that way more than I saw in English Harbour. And so I wanted to create a place you could go to 7 days a week. And I think that's really hard with a restaurant. So the menu needs to be broad enough, but also accessible enough, not just in price point, but you know, you don't want any of those dishes I just mentioned 7 days a week. That's not a good idea. So it's really important that we work on having a great range in the price point and also in the offering. So that was kind of the idea, is that I just saw a gap for it. It's marina-side, so I think a big focus on seafood and fish is important, but at the same time I don't want to close the door to people that don't like seafood. So I know I can hear my mother in my head going, well, what am I going to eat? So I want to make sure that there's something for everybody. And also I think it's a cracking spot to have a drink and a sundowner. And again, Jolly Harbour has a couple of nice locations for that, but with the changes happening and the central area is going to be knocked down, it's going to leave a shortage, and so we wanted to have a really cool bar as well.
Absolutely, yeah. With the other restaurants, etc., closing, that will be the kind of new hotspot in Jolly Harbour.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really will only leave Sea Dream, El Porto's and the Fat Urchin.
Yeah.
I think everything else will be moving to the containers, and then while they wait for everything to be built up again. So yeah, there's going to be a shortage. There's going to be a demand for it for sure.
Absolutely, and well-priced meals instead of the top end that you guys normally do, which I think is that's an interesting concept for you. So I'm excited. When can we? When is it going to be opening?
Well, there's always two dates. There's the date you want and the date it opens, right? So we're aiming for October.
Okay.
It definitely has to be ready before season. I definitely don't want it to open Christmas week like Rockini did last year, because we nearly didn't make it.
Yes, you did. I mean, you did amazingly.
It was a lot.
Here. You guys are always evolving and creating fresh concepts in Antigua. How challenging is that for you?
I think it's challenging anywhere, but here, one of the things I suppose that's most obvious is that we've had loads of wonderful people work with us, learn a lot, and then go on to either do their own thing or to go and work somewhere else, and they take with them those great ideas. And so everything that we've perfected, somebody else then gets the recipe of, whether it be the margarita or espresso martini or dishes on the menu. And so you see them popping up in other places, which is flattering and wonderful, but it just reminds me of the need to innovate and change again. And we don't need to copy, and we might import ideas and take inspiration from travels and things like that, but we certainly don't need to copy anybody on island. So we'll just create the new and improved version of that, and then everyone can catch up afterwards.
I think you guys are at the top in Antigua. You are the most innovating company, creating loads of different experience for your diners. So I very much appreciate that you are going to have people copying your ideas and using your ideas in different places, and that's why as you're doing now, you're changing, you're innovating, you're doing something different, and that's what you've got to keep doing.
Yeah.
For us to benefit.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's for us as well. We love doing it, and it's a lot of fun. Just it's exciting to sit down and come up with new concepts and think what we're going to do next.
Yeah. So how has life changed? Because I know you have a new addition to the family, and you've also moved over to the dark side, well, the west coast of Antigua.
The sunset side.
The sunset side, yes. I mean, it's my favourite side. But you used to live in English Harbour, so I'd love to know what the differences are and how you enjoy this side or not, but I think you do enjoy. What are the differences between English Harbour and Jolly Harbour, have you found?
I mean, there's many differences. I was in English Harbour for best part of a decade, and I lived on the west coast before I went north when I first came here. So I lived on this side for about 3 years, about 17 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. But we were both kicking around then.
Yes, we were very young. We didn't have all this stuff.
So to be back on this side is amazing. I've actually discovered more than I did when I lived here previously. Realised, I mentioned before, the sense of community is super strong. And actually, I know a lot of people have historically turned their nose up at Jolly Harbour, and I suppose I've probably done that at some point in my life as well. And part of that is, without doubt, in terms of how it looked, it was on a decline for some years. Now that that's changed, I mean, I really see the changes happening every day. Going for a jog around Jolly Harbour and seeing how, the security's improved, the landscape is improved, the roads are better, the entrance being done, the new gym that's coming online, the new restaurants that are going to be opening. And sure, there's still more that has to be done to go backwards before we can come forwards. But Jolly Harbour in 5 years is going to be epic, and I truly believe that as part of the reason we've moved this side, and I'm focusing a lot of my operations here. English Harbour's been great; it's served me well. Catherine's Cafe is still one of our jewels, and I absolutely love it down there. But there's more restaurants popping up constantly. There's almost sort of too many seats there now than there is people kicking around. Everyone seems quite reliant on the yachting industry for a period of time. The community is there, but it's different. It feels like there's more sort of pockets of it, a little bit more cliquey. I feel it's more inclusive here. You mentioned the new addition. I love taking the little baby down in the pushchair and walking around Jolly Harbour because there's not that many places on island you can do it. If you want to jog at night, you can because everything's lit up as well. So there's also not many places on island you can do that. So lots of little things I'm loving about being this side. Sure, I loved living at Galleon, and I miss that a little bit. But there's only 2 beaches. Well, there's only really a couple of beaches in English Harbour. There's more than 2, but here you've got a whole selection. So even when it's busy, you can find your spot anywhere. The water's always calm. It's pretty dreamy.
Currently, you have Rockuni, Shear, Catherine's, and now the Fat Urchin. I understand that Shear is going to be 15 years old soon, and there's some changes happening there. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so Shear turns 15 in November.
Mad.
I know.
Gosh.
And so much has happened. I mean, if you think when we started, it was 24-seat restaurant with 1 pool in the bar, and now, it's constantly grown, and we've got the infinity bar and the cove pool. So we're doing a refurbishment this summer. It's gonna close. So it's pretty much been open, apart from the odd bit of weather and COVID. It's been open 7 days a week, 365 days a year for years. Never closed one day. And knock on wood, it's done pretty well through the summers as well and through September. And it's just, I think, it's solidified itself as the must-visit place in Antigua.
Absolutely.
It's one more. I mean, this is a little bit of gloating now, but it's more on behalf of the team than on me. They've won more awards than any other restaurant in Antigua, have more international recognition, and continues to get them as well. Just got 3rd in the Caribbean Journal, which is, for me, my favourite publication because they actually go around all the restaurants on the islands. They really know their stuff, and they include you because they want the story as well as the delivery. They're into the whole package. So with that said, we knew we needed to do a renovation. We've just renewed the lease with the landlord, which has been great. So it's now the right time to step it up. So all the furniture will change. We're building a new wine room. We're renovating the bar. We're going to change some of the roofing and the kitchen and the bathrooms, and a few other bits that sort of would need polishing up. And we've been toying with the idea of revamping the concept slightly as well. So we're still keeping the tapas lunch and the a la carte dinner with the option of the tasting menu at night. But when we started out, we always said we were Mediterranean-inspired Caribbean soul. And so Caribbean soul meant we were supporting local where possible, which is part of our core values anyway, as you know. And that's not just in the team that we're developing, but in the farmers and the fishermen that we're working with, and the ingredients and the influence. Now, if you said to me before, what's a great Caribbean dish, I would playfully say it's the tuna tartare. The tuna's locally caught, the avocado's locally grown, the limes are from Dominica, the rocket's locally grown, the Scotch bonnet is from here. Of course, that's typically not a Caribbean dish, but to me, this was the epitome of it. So we're going to drift a little bit more into West Indian heritage and more influence from the region. And I think, 15 years ago, we were trailblazing by doing tapas, and even that took a few years to get going. But with the West Indian influence, nobody would have been ready 15 years ago because the reputation still wasn't that great. And it was when I was, for Restaurant Week, back in May, we did this dinner with these 2 celebrity chefs out of the UK, Kirth Comes and Kareem Roberts. And they're both amazing, and it'd been on my mind, but it just solidified the idea that West Indian food, Caribbean influence in food is huge, and it's trending right now. And London is loving it, and New York is loving it, and all the places around there as well. and there's so many beautiful flavors and colors and stories, and so we want to bring more West Indian influence into the menu, and that doesn't mean bringing in classic dishes, because frankly, although many of my team I'm sure would be perfect to do it, it doesn't feel like that's the right place, and we can't charge a Shear price for a pepper pot.
It's the location doesn't mix with the food. You have to kind of,
So what we want to do is take inspiration from it. So imagine like a really good goat curry, but in a croquette. So we've got all the flavors of the sauce and the potato and everything in there. You know, curried chana, so you know, like chickpeas like they do in Trinidad for doubles. We could be doing something like this, but you see how everybody now on, you know, like on our tapas menu, somebody would love a fish taco or something. Well, it could be a fish taco with chana, so it's almost like a doubles, but it's you know, so we don't want to play around with it too much, but you've got a lot of influence from different areas coming in here, and a lot of flavors and colors that we find on the island, and those ingredients. So we want to be able to bring that into our menus a little bit more. So we're going to play around with it, and we've got Jamal, our head chef, who's been with Shear for 15 years. He's working on it with Kyra, who is a new chef we've employed this year, who's kind of doing a bit of troubleshooting and a bit of everything at the moment. So they're working on the new menu there and bringing fresh ideas. And she was in St. Lucia for the last year. So we're looking at how we can sort of, just innovate again, I suppose, just take Shear up a notch.
And launch party, like celebration, 15 years, when's that? And can I come?
So the official birthday is the 6th of November. So I guess somewhere around there we will do it. We're closing, at the moment we're scheduled to close on the 15th of September. We should be able to get most of the work done in 2 weeks. So we should only be closed 2 to 3 weeks. And then we'll relaunch with the new menus and everything. And then we'll probably do a bit of a soft run and then have a celebration around the birthday time.
And colour palette, can you give us anything, or is it a top secret colour?
No.
Colour palette for I can see it.
Very natural as before. So more stone. So we're doing more stone work, more wood, more bamboo, more wattling, some rusty reclaimed iron, which is going to be used for the wine shelves in the wine room.
Okay.
We're going to have a really cool new room there. And then the curtains are changing, so they're going to be, my designer will kill me because I don't know how to describe it, but I always think they're sort of like a cross between burlap and jutes as like blinds, so they slide around the side, so you can sort of close the pavilions or have them open.
That's great.
And then the colours of the cushions, so the cushions, like the ones we're sat on at Urchin, are all going to be made out of recycled ocean plastic.
I love that.
And they're UV and waterproof as well, which is amazing because they're so soft. But the colour is going to be, it's a type of green that is used in the Shear logo.
Okay.
So if you can picture that, it's like a sagey, pastely green. Again, I'm the worst person to describe that colour. But and then of course you've got the backdrop of the ocean.
Yeah, the blues and the turquoise. I mean, it's just stunning.
The pink and the purple off the bougainvillea and all the flowers and the greenery and everything. So very, very natural, very soft, very Shear Roxy.
That is our Christmas Day location. What's next for you guys? Is there anything else? I mean, you've got a lot in the pipeline coming up, but is there anything else that we should know about?
There is. There's some more exciting changes happening here at Sugar Ridge. We're doing it in partnership with them, so we're not quite there yet to announce it all. But definitely, I think everyone had the taste of kind of the best of what's to come at Sugar Ridge, and also the glory days of the parties before, when we did the cat party here for Mount Gay. And it really sort of sparked quite a lot of interest. And of course, you know, it's not a hotel anymore, it's now residents and stuff, of which are all selling really well, and I think they've hardly got anything left. So there's going to be quite a buzz around here anyway, and so they're putting money into the common spaces, and we're going to be doing a joint sort of venture with them, and we'll be managing some of that. So there's more to come there. And then we're also working on a shop, deli, and like a wine store concept. So that will be happening later this year as well, all being well. So we've already started importing some of our own wines and spirits, some food. Again, this is just, feels like the need to get into that market. I mean, we sell so much, we'd like to control some of the supply chain. And especially on the food side, we've really struggled to get, again, if you want something totally different here, it's always more expensive. And then if you get someone else to bring it in for you, you've then got to commit to a certain amount. Whereas if you're doing it all yourself, you have a lot more control over how you shift it and sell it and price point and stuff. So now that we've got the means to both bring it in and be able to store it, it makes sense. So to open the shop is kind of the front of that small import business, and we're not looking at going after anyone else's business, to be honest. We're looking at just creating a small shop that adds something that no one else is doing, and then also to supply the restaurants. And so we'll control which bits we want the public to have their hands on and which bits we want to keep just for ourselves. So it also creates a little bit more, not, I suppose, demand and excitement, but also just means that you're not seeing the same thing everywhere, which I think is one of the, one of my sort of gripes in Antigua. I mean, it's great in a way, but everywhere you turn up and you look at the wine list and you know which supplier it is, how much they paid for it. And so, bring a little bit more excitement to the market.
How many years have you been here?
17.
17, gosh.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to anyone that is thinking of moving here, living here, and potentially setting up a business?
First of all, just do it. Give it a go.
Yeah.
I think setting up a business, the paperwork side of things here is quite easy. Like we were talking about it before we started recording, and it's actually not that hard to do business here. The hard part of doing business here is you can have an idea. It could be brilliant. No one's ever done it before, but it doesn't guarantee that there's volume to fill it. To make it successful.
Mass,
if I use restaurants as an example, if I opened the best restaurant in the whole world that was vegan here, it wouldn't guarantee that you'd be fully booked all the time. Whereas if you opened the best vegan restaurant in the whole world in New York or in London, they'd be queuing around the block every day.
Because you have enough people.
There's enough. So it's do your market research, do your homework for sure, spot the opportunity, but then go and find out, if there isn't one already, then why is that? I think, so ask the right questions. Don't turn up and think, oh, it's easy, I could do it better, because it's true that it's been, in the Caribbean, everything is a bit of a challenge. But that's also why there isn't an abundance of big brands here, because they see it and it puts them off. And that's why there's loads of cool indie brands here. And I think that's part of the charm. So operationally, things are harder here. But then, the pro to the con is that it's easier to set up. It's quite easy living here. You get to, when you work out who everybody is, you can access the right person at the right time. If you have a problem with your cell phone provider, you call the manager. If you have a problem at the bank, you call the bank manager. You don't get to do that, in the UK, for example. So from that point of view, I think, if you've got a great idea and you want to move here, then do it. I think it's easier to move and live here than it is to start a business, probably. So you've got to be quite sure on what you're doing. I always worry. I meet lots of couples who say that we're going to sell our business in the UK and we've never been in restaurants before, but we want to open one in the Caribbean. What do you think? The first thing I say is probably don't do it. Because the margins are really tight, and unless you want to be there running it personally yourselves all the time, then you're going to have to employ someone, and that makes the margin even tighter. So I think you do it in an industry that you understand would be my advice.
Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, and congratulations on your new restaurant. I can't wait to go there, and good luck with everything. I'm sure we'll have you back on to after the opening of Fat Urchin, so we can get lots of video footage of it and explore your different concepts and different foods.
That'd be great. Can't wait to show you around.
Thanks everyone for watching, and if you'd like more details on Fat Urchin and how to get in contact with the Rocks Group, all the details are below. Thanks for watching.
Tuesday Chats with Nadia Dyson.